class. This is your video about the Native Americans in Texas. Today we're going to talk about 7 different tribes. So today, as I talk about the 7 different tribes, I want to focus on the tribe name, the region where they live, the region of Texas, their housing, meaning what type of dwelling did they live, what was their daily life like, what were the different types of tools and weapons that they used, and then the fate of the tribe, what became of the tribe. So be focusing on these things as we go along. The first tribe that we are going to talk about today is the Karankawa tribe. All right. So they lived in the Gulf region. Their housing, they were nomads. And we have this word highlighted because it's important. You're going to see this word again as we go through. So basically they were nomadic, which means that they moved around a lot. They did not have really any permanent housing. All right. So they were nomads. They were nomadic. They moved around a lot. And this was because of the weather. All right. Their huts, or where they lived, were called wigwams, and they were circular huts. Their daily life, they were hunters and gatherers. They wore little clothing due to the hot summers. Okay, so they didn't wear very heavy clothing. They wore very light clothing, if any at all. All right, their tools and weapons, they used bows and arrows. And the fate of the tribe, what became of the Karankawa, was that they became extinct because of European disease. So as more and more Europeans started to show up to Texas, along with them, they brought their diseases. And to them, it wasn't really so much disease. It was just, common colds and things like that. But what you have to understand about the Native Americans is that they were not immune to these diseases. All right, so like I said, just a common cold could wipe out a whole tribe, and this was happening. The Native American, the Europeans were bringing their germs and their diseases, and these were just spreading like wildfire through the different tribes of the Karankawa, and eventually the Karankawa became extinct. So moving on to the Coquitlam. All right, the Coquitlam. They lived in the Gulf region of Texas as well, okay, by the water. They were also nomads, all right, so they moved around a lot. They were a little different because they were actually hunters and gatherers. They lived in drier weather, and they had metotes, all right. So what I want you to do is I want you to underline this word right now, metotes, all right, because it's very important. We're going to talk about that in class. But basically what a metote is, it's just an all-day and all-night festival. And these things went on for days. All right, and that's kind of what separates them from others, is because of these metotes. All right, they used bows and arrows. They also used stones, hammers, and knives. And what became of the tribe was that they were destroyed, either killed off, or they acclimated themselves to the Spanish culture. They were absorbed by the Spanish culture. That means that they totally changed their culture and became Spanish. All right. Okay, moving on to the Caddo. The Caddo lived in eastern Texas on the Gulf region. All right. They built permanent villages using grass huts. And the reason that they did this, they lived in more permanent villages, was because they were farmers. They didn't need to move around like the Karankawa and the Coquitlam in search of food. Their food was permanent. It was there. They were farmers. So they did not have to move around, so they could spend a little bit more time building better homes for themselves. All right. So they were farmers, and they did gather plants as well. They did use bows and arrows, and they also used strings with fishing hooks. They were fishers as well. They were very resourceful. And they adjusted to the European influences. So again, kind of like the Coquitlam were absorbed by the Spanish culture, the Caddo kind of changed their culture and adjusted to the Europeans as well. So what you need to really focus on with the Caddos is think that they lived in permanent villages, they were farmers, and they were fishermen. Okay, we're going to move on to the Jumano. The Jumano Basins region of Texas, and they were part of this Pueblo culture. All right, this word Pueblo, what does that mean? All right, let's talk about it. So it has to do with their housing. All right, and so they lived in permanent villages along the Rio Grande, and they used sun-baked mud or adobe to build their homes. Okay, so this adobe, this way that they built their permanent villages is part of the Pueblo culture. All right, and this is what separates them from all the other tribes, and where they lived also, the mountains and basins region. Okay, so they were farmers. They gathered plants, but they also hunted buffalo as well. Okay, they used bows and arrows, shields, and heavy clubs. Eventually, they ended up dying from European diseases. They weren't immune to these germs that the Europeans brought with them, so a lot of them died. They were also attacked by the Apache, who we're going to talk about next, who were a more aggressive tribe, or they just joined other Native American tribes. The Apache. The Apache lived in the plains or the mountains and basins region. Their housing were called wickiups. They were basically wooden frames with buffaloes covering. Okay, kind of think of like a teepee almost. So if they live in a wickiup, it's a smaller, more mobile home. Then what do you think they did? I want you to pause for a second. Do you think that they were farmers, or do you think that they were hunters who moved around a lot? Okay, again, these were very small teepee-like homes. All right, they were very mobile, so they could move quick. So again, think. Do you think that they were farmers who stayed, or do you think that they were hunters and gatherers? Okay, so if you guessed hunters and gatherers, you're right. They were hunters. They roamed the plains looking for buffalo and horses, and they were very aggressive. They attacked the Spanish and the Pueblo Indians. They were used bows and arrows and horses. They were very, very skilled horsemen. All right, because they had to be. They hunted buffalo. They were on the backs of horses. A lot of the times, just bareback. They didn't have any saddles or ropes or anything like that. All right, so they're just riding these horses bareback, and they had to be very skilled horsemen. All right, and in doing so, it made them skilled warriors as well. All right, that you still do see some Apache still around in Oklahoma. So let's move on to the Comanche. The Comanche lived in the Plains region of Texas, the Great Plains and the Central Plains. All right, they used teepees. So again, plains, they used teepees. Think, are they farmers, or are they hunters and gatherers? All right. So they were hunters and gatherers. They were very skilled fighters. They controlled northern and western Texas, looking for buffalo and horses. Their tools were bows and arrows, and they were horsemen as well, very skilled, the most skilled horsemen, and they also used long spears. They are also still around in Oklahoma. The Kiowa. The Kiowa lived in the Plains region, again the Plains meaning the Great Plains and the Central Plains. They lived in teepees. They were also hunters and gatherers who looked for buffalo and horses. They used bows and arrows and wore clubs and shields, and they are also still around in Oklahoma. So this completes the content frame. Remember, anytime you see something is highlighted, that means that it's very important and that we are going to stress it in class and really, really talk about it in class. So make sure that you are highlighting what you see written down as well. All right. So I hope that this video helped. I'm going to now show you a map of where these different tribes were located in Texas. Now I want you to look at page 13 of your ISN. You should have a map glued in that looks like this. If you don't, come see me tomorrow in class, and I will give you one. All right. So you should, again, have this in page 13. What I want you to do is I want you to take out some map pencils, all right, some coloring pencils, and you are going to color in as I color in and talk about each of the tribes and where they are located. All right. So a few of these we did not talk about. We're just going to highlight the main ones. All right, starting with the Karankawa. Okay, so I'm just going to select the highlighter here, and you can just color with any color. All right. So the Karankawa are located right here, okay, on the Gulf Coast. All right. Because it rained a lot, and it still does, but because of the weather, they were able to get good crops, and they were farmers as well as fishermen. Okay. Let's choose the next one. Let's look at the Coquitlam. All right, and that's in the south. All right. This right here is where they're located. They're still on the Gulf. All right. Remember, they were hunters and gatherers. They were nomads as well. And they used bows and arrows. All right, so let's go ahead and fill that in there. You can color in as well. Okay. The next tribe we're going to talk about is the Caddo tribe. The Caddo tribe was located here, all right, in eastern Texas. They were also farmers. They were the most successful farmers because of all of the heavy rainfall and rich soil in this region of Texas. They were the most successful farmers. So remember the Caddo as farmers. Okay. The next is the Jumano. Okay. They were a part of the Pueblo culture. Remember, they built permanent villages out of adobe, which was sun-baked mud. All right. And this is where they were located. Okay. So it was very hot, very dry. And they were able to make these beautiful homes out of sun-baked mud called adobe. Get another color. We'll go red. All right. The Apache. The Apache were located here. Okay. And this little portion of Texas also. They were Plains Indians as well as a little bit of mountains and basins. They were mobile, okay, so they were nomadic, and they were one of the more aggressive tribes. All right, very skilled warriors, very skilled horsemen. All right, let's choose a different color. We'll go with dark blue. Looking at the Comanche, they were the probably the most successful as far in terms of just how much of Texas they occupied. So let me so again, looking at the Comanche, they occupied the greatest amount of land in Texas, and that was the Comanche. All right, we're going to finish with the Kiowa. Let's go ahead and pick purple. Okay, so they were Plains Indians as well. They were also nomadic, okay, and they lived in teepees. They roamed the plains looking for buffalo, and they were also users of bows and arrows, war clubs and shields, and they are still around in Oklahoma. So that's the map. This will conclude the video for today. Just remember, you filled out your content frame. We filled out our map. What we're going to do now is we are going to talk about this information in class, and we're going to use this information in class. So bring it to class with you tomorrow. Bring the map with you, colored, tomorrow. we're going to talk about the different Native American tribes, their locations, and the similarities and differences between each. Okay, so your homework is to finish this. What I want you to do is go ahead, flip it to the back side. All right, flip your content frame to the back side. That's this one right here. Okay, should be filled out. And I want you to write down one major difference between the Caddo and the Comanche. Okay, again, write down one major difference between the Caddo and the Comanche tribes. That is your homework. I want to see that completed when you get back to class. Have a good day. Thank you.